Here we are, out in Boulder, Chautauqua Park or something. Hunting for Squatch. We're hunting for Squatch today. There's a Squatch in these woods.
That's where we are. We're in Chautauqua.
We are in Chautauqua.
We're in Chautauqua Park, hiking up the mountain. And we got a couple of Bigfoot stories from out here. And we're going to read those to you now.
We're going to read some Bigfoots.
This first one. Whoa! Wow. The first one comes from Kenosha Pass. It's the latest Bigfoot sighting in Colorado. Happened in 2018. So we're just gonna read. These are posted by people who've seen Bigfoot onto the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization website. So this is what it reads. Oh my God, is all we can say.
Oh.
It's Thursday, August 23rd, 2018, and we were just getting to our vehicle from a harrowing hike. We were hiking the road at Kenosha Pass on the east side that takes you to Twin Cones above the tree line. Just a bunch of information about where they were. They were about 3 hours up the road, and this woman and her daughter heard some knocking on a tree. And when that happened, the mom thought it would be funny to take a rock and knock it on a larger rock that was nearby. And then she just kind of tossed the rock like 5 feet the other way, and they kept walking. And then after a little bit, as they're walking, after she throws that rock, all of a sudden, there's rocks whizzing by their heads. Why? We literally just did all of this. That's what we did it for. That'll be playing as I'm talking.
Shh, keep going. It's a good story.
There's rocks whizzing past our heads. The stench was unbearable, like nothing I have ever smelled before. My 21-year-old daughter began to scream and cry as we were under attack by someone or something. Oh my God! Look! I was so startled, I stood there frozen as this dark figure was staring back at me. I couldn't move. My daughter grabbed my arm and we took off. I had an air horn that I depressed 3 times as we were running away, and that seemed to deter the rock throwing. The rock throwing continued for 5 more minutes as we ran down the hill. We were almost to our vehicle, which was parked off the dirt road, when we heard a loud guttural whoop.
Whoop! Whoop!
That's good. Off the road a bit, and we just kept running to the car, so very, very afraid. We made it back to our vehicle at 6:15. And what I want to point out here is that I skipped over it, but a couple of points in the story, she mentions the time. So they start their hike around 12.
Noon.
They start their hike around noon. They hike up to where this happens at 3:30. They hiked for 3 hours. Yeah, 3.5 hours, pretty much. And then they start running as this happens. And from what I gather from this, they ran the whole 3 hours back to their car. They get back to their car at 6:15.
Jesus.
And they're still hearing rocks. They're still hearing these guttural whoops. The last thing she says is, "I will never return, and we are not okay with this. This needs to be investigated. Please." So the man himself, Scott Miles, who we're going to talk about a little bit, I guess, during this, he's going to get brought up a few times. He's an investigator for the Bigfoot Field Research Organization, and he's the one that compiles all of these things, at least in this area, at least in Colorado, and then goes out and investigates these claims.
Jesus. Won't leave me alone. It keeps coming back for more. I don't want it.
So basically what this guy found when he went out to the same site,
Jesus.
was that he found the site at approximately 11,000 feet of elevation. He did observe what appeared to be a partial footprint and discovered a possible hiding and sleeping area, which had a very distinct odor. The odor was notable, but not as intense as described by the witness during their encounter. And it pretty much just goes on to say that, like, he believes them because of how terrified they were, and, it's not unlikely, in his opinion, that there are some squatches out there. He also mentions that they felt like they were under attack, but if a Sasquatch wanted to hit you with a rock, it could.
Because they good at that.
They got a good arm. Sasquatch be pitching for the New York Yankees. So that's our first story. That's over in Kenosha Park.
Give me the one that I found about this park.
Okay.
I'm gonna read a story now.
Okay.
Now it's Nick's turn to read. How did you say the name of this thing again?
Oh boy.
Chautauqua or something?
Play my pronunciation of the park that we're in again. Chautauqua.
Well, here we are in this park. This is a story from November of 1995.
There's an ant on my bag. Safe crawling around in there. Sorry.
It's in the park that we are sitting in currently. It is on a trail, very much like this one, with an overlook of the city in the background. Well, down towards that way. I don't think you can see it from where the camera is currently positioned.
It's right there. I see it.
I digress.
1995. Right here. Right here. Happened. Right here.
The man who encountered describes his encounter. I live in Denver, Colorado, and I may have seen a Bigfoot when I was in college in Boulder, several years ago. He used to hike in this park, which was nearby, and it's higher up than the rest of Boulder and faces the city, like I said. He was out here at night at about 11 p.m. It was cold, and he was standing in his coat looking down at the city lights. Suddenly, he heard a rustling sound and turned toward it. That's when he saw a large figure that was silhouetted against the city lights. It looked like a very large, hairy, naked person with a powerful build, broad shoulders, and a relatively small, pointed, or bullet-shaped head. It spotted me, which made me afraid of being attacked, but instead, it began running toward the cover of the trees. Its running gait was unlike that of any person I had seen. It was kind of hunched over, a lopping gait. Nevertheless, the figure moved quickly and disappeared behind a tree. That was all I saw of the figure. I have always considered this a possible Bigfoot sighting. There were no other witnesses. He didn't look for footprints or hair. He's not aware of any other stories coming out of this park. And it goes over the time and conditions and the environment which she was in, which was obviously nighttime, cold, and environment was this. The follow-up investigation was Mark Taylor, and he contacted the guy who made the report, who at the time was a 33-year-old microbiology researcher with a degree in biology from CU and a master's in zoology from Florida. His sighting occurred in '95 while he was a sophomore at CU in Boulder, Colorado. So his sighting did happen while he was still getting his degree. I will make that known.
Right, he wasn't
But
a full zoologist, biologist.
right, but still to this day, he claims that the encounter he had was a Bigfoot.
Right, he never saw anything in his textbook that explained what he saw while he was in college.
Right. He had hiked up alone the slope about 1/4 of a mile from the park, the parking lot that overlooks the city on Boulder and the city lights. He had been standing there a few minutes. He heard rustling noise. Well, this is just going over it again. He was unnerved by the sighting and ran back to his car. The sighting lasted approximately 15 seconds. Not wanting to face ridicule from his fellow friends and students, he waited 10 years to file this report.
Damn.
Yeah, that's really it. No one ever came out here to search because it was 10 years later, so no one came out to do a follow-up research report out here, out and about. But we're currently sitting behind some trees that look to be bent, possibly stripped over this way,
Squatchified.
and that's a pretty good sign usually of a squatch in these woods. Thanks for watching this episode, maybe?
Yeah, if you've seen a squatch, tell us in the comments.
Let us know about it. I want to know about them squatch encounters.
Yeah.
Whoever you may be in my life, or anybody's life.
Yeah, whatever state, I don't care, I'll go.
I'll go check out a squatch in your state. We're in Colorado, but who knows where we might end up next.
We'll come to a squatch near you.
A squatch near you. Or maybe a devil?